Hi, guys.
Oh. That's on brand.
I love that. That's staying in. That is staying in. What happened?
I'll be good now.
I'll be good now. Hi guys, welcome to WedChat with me, Schyler Anderson Photography, and today we have Kristen Photography with us.
Hi guys.
She's my other mentor that kind of really took that first chance and got me started shooting weddings, which I'm eternally grateful for. And the way that actually happened is I wanted to start second shooting, and I reached out to her kind of out of nowhere as just a random person. And I was like, hey, I really want to shoot weddings. I see you're shooting weddings and you're super cool. Can I come with you?
Flattery will get you a long way with me.
Very true, very true. With most people. So I just reached out and I was like, hey, can I come with you? Can I tag along and second shoot for free and just try it out? And she was like, yeah, I'm going to a wedding in Flagstaff, and if you want to come, cool, you can just tag along with me. It was a lot of fun though.
I don't even know if I vetted you that much. I was just like, yeah, sure, you seem cool, and I was like, I have this wedding all the way in Flagstaff, and it's hard sometimes to find people that want to go all the way up there. And I was like, all right, gig number one, we're gonna get to know each other in the 2.5 car ride up there. And that's pretty much how it happened.
Yeah, the very first time I met you, I got in a car with you for 2 hours.
Yes. Being a photographer, we tend to do very unsafe things. We just meet random people on the internet and we go meet up with them in the middle of nowhere. And,
oh, yeah.
At no point is that actually really safe, but...
And we never really think about it.
And maybe until you're already there and you're like, wow, these people could be murderers. Yeah. But I'm here and I'm gonna take their pictures.
We're committed.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So she really took that chance on me. And
sure did.
I climbed in her car and she was stuck with me for not only the 2-hour car drive, but the full 8-hour wedding day.
And then the drive back.
And the 2 hours back. So, good thing she liked me.
Yeah. And I remember the drive back being a little dangerous. It was it was up at Mormon Lake Lodge, and that road out of there is just a windy, pitch black road, basically, and even your high beams are not bright enough to really make you feel secure.
So, it was terrifying.
Nice little adventure there.
At least you were in control a little bit, though. I really just jumped into a stranger's car and went to
really, you should have been more scared.
I was like, hopefully this person can drive really well. Yeah, we're not gonna die.
I mean, I was in my Subaru, so I'm like,
yeah. I knew she had kids. We're good.
That is a that makes people trust me maybe more than they should. Oh, she's a mom, she's responsible, right? I'm like, yes.
Yeah, she's
absolutely
good. She's good. But yeah, that was a really fun wedding, and it helped that I offered to shoot for free, because then it was might as well have you come.
Yeah. And with me and second shooters, I just always like that my second shooters, believe it or not, my biggest thing is that you have a good personality and that you're going to make my clients feel comfortable, because I know there's a lot of great photographers out there who they know how to take a good picture, how to capture the moments. But for me, what's even more important is your personality. Are you outgoing? Are you gonna, especially my second shooter who usually hangs out with the grooms, I'm like, are you comfortable with the guys? Can you make them laugh? Are you gonna be fine with, them making dumb guy jokes and fitting in and feeling part of the wedding party instead of just feeling like a vendor? So, when you reached out to me and I was like, okay, that already was a good sign. I'm like, you're outgoing, you're a go-getter. Okay, let's do this. So
yeah, I can't
hire shy people.
Yeah. Right, especially with our personalities, it doesn't mix.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I walk into the groom suite and I'm like, what's up, losers?
Exactly. And that's what we need. Who's doing shots?
Exactly. The guys are so different too. You walk into the girls and it's like, hi, beautiful. You look so great.
Oh my gosh, that's so true.
Yeah, and you walk into the guys and you're like, let's party.
Right.
Oh, it's such a vibe. I miss second shooting because I miss hanging out with the guys.
You know what? I kind of do too. And whenever I do a wedding where they don't hire a second shooter, I'm kind of like, oh, this is fun. I get to hang out with the boys and the girls and do the whole wedding by myself, which I do really like. It can be stressful in the moment because having a second shooter is so helpful, just being able to lean on them, especially now, not gonna lie, I'm getting a little older, I'm a little tired, and I'm like, I'm gonna sit down for this one. Can you go do it? Okay, cool. It's just nice having that person to lean on, especially an 8-hour wedding, a lot of people, a lot of bridal party, but yeah, it's fun.
And especially when you were shooting weddings 8-9 months pregnant.
Yes.
Which was wild because I started shooting with you and then I think you might have already been pregnant or shortly after got pregnant.
I think I just got pregnant. Yeah.
Yeah.
The last wedding I did when I was like out to here, I had 2 people go do the wedding, and I just went because I'm a control freak, and I'm like, I can't not go to the wedding, you know, and I love my couples. I'm like, I have to be there, you know? So I'm just sitting down in a chair out to here, and I'm like, just watching them. I'm like, okay, they're doing a good job, you know?
You're good. Yeah. I remember that's part of like where I got a lot of my confidence from too, was because sometimes you'd be like, hey, you know, I need to take a break. You're on. And I was like,
yeah.
Okay.
Just kind of push you off the ledge. I'm like, you can fly.
Yeah, exactly. You're like, good luck. Yeah. I'm like, oh God.
You know, I think, and sometimes I get like crap for this, but I truly believe in like fake it till you make it. And I think people are capable of so much more than they believe themselves to be.
Oh yeah.
And sometimes you don't know you can do something until you're in the situation and you have no choice.
Yep.
You know, so I like that teaching method, and I also like that learning method. I'm like, just get me hands-on in the situation and let me figure it out. You know, obviously with a wedding, you don't want to do that like the first time ever, like go shoot somebody, like be a lead photographer, shoot somebody's wedding, not knowing what you're doing. So that's what I love about second shooting. Like,
yeah,
that's such a great way to not only build your portfolio, but build up your confidence and really be like, you know, I know what I'm doing. I can do this.
And the first wedding I ever did by myself, I did great. I got everything I needed to. The couples loved it. It was not a bad story.
Okay.
But I was running circles because I only had one camera body and I wanted to use multiple lenses. But I had left my camera bag downstairs. So I made the grave mistake of like, oh, I want to change my lens, and run downstairs, change my lens, run back up. Oh, I want to change my lens again. Run downstairs, change my lens, run back up. And I learned that day. I was like,
2 camera bodies at all times.
Yeah. And I was like, this is very like second shooter behavior right now. I need to drop this.
And yeah, I mean, and those are things you don't learn about yourself until you start shooting weddings by yourself and you get into your flow of things, you know? So
yeah, exactly. It's something that takes time, and you're not going to get there unless you get thrown into it. Apparently. So how did you kind of start like photography and getting into weddings? Did you start with weddings or something else?
No. So I actually didn't even start necessarily with photography. So I was pregnant with my son, and I was working for this small company. And when I told them like, hey, I'm pregnant, I'm going to take 6 weeks unpaid off. My boss decided he didn't like that. And he was just like, we're going to let you go. So
wow. Like, even unpaid? That's wild.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, of course I'm emotional. I'm super pregnant. I'm like, what am I going to do? And I was going for job interviews, and like nobody was going to hire me because I'm like out to here. They're like, girl, you look like you're ready to have that baby at any minute now.
Yeah.
And this was back like, oh my gosh, 2015, I want to say. And blogging was still like a big thing back then. And I was like, and I kind of like to write, you know, and I was like, okay, maybe I'll get a camera and I'll start like blogging and just maybe write about the mother experience and all this, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
Because my husband was like, it's fine. Like, you don't need to go to work right now. Like, just stop.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay,
calm down.
Yeah. And then I just realized I liked taking pictures more than I did writing. So then I was like, maybe I'll do family sessions, because I used to work with kids also back before I did marketing. And I was like, okay, I like kids. Like, let me take pictures, you know, whatever. But then one of my good friends got engaged, and they were like, will you please do our engagement pictures? And after that, I was like, oh,
this is where it's at.
I love, like, just being around a couple, and they're playing and they're laughing and they're hanging out, and you're just capturing it. Like, you know, being like, you know, a professional third wheel. I love it.
Yeah.
Like, it's the best. So yeah, after that, the women who photographed my wedding, actually, they saw me starting to post stuff like that, and they reached out to me, and they're like, would you want to shadow us on a wedding sometime? And I'm like, yeah. So I got to be like a third shooter.
Yeah.
And I brought my little white Canon camera. Oh my gosh. Crop sensor.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even know what it was called. Canon Rebel, one of those.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like we all started on a Canon Rebel.
Yes. I mean, it's a great camera, not going to lie.
It's the camera.
It is. And so I'm just taking pictures at the wedding, and I'm like, oh, like, it was such a great wedding. I got lucky. It was a great experience. You know, the couple was really great. All the vendors, it was a beautiful venue. So yeah, after that I was like, and even the photographers told me, they're like, you're kind of getting a little spoiled here. They're like, this is a great wedding, really easy for your first one. I'm like, okay, I can do this. And yeah, I just remember going home and telling John, I'm like, oh my gosh, like my husband, I was like, this, you know, is so awesome. Like, I could do this every day. So yeah.
My very, very, very first wedding shooting experience, it wasn't the one with you. That was only my second one. My very first one is a really funny story.
Okay. I don't think I've heard this.
I don't think you have, because I was so just like ready to do more, and I was so
Yeah.
focused on forward, I never really talked about, you
Yeah.
know, backwards. So the very first one I ever shot, I did the same thing. I reached out to actually Laura Catherine Photo.
Okay.
The only time I've ever worked with her, just because I got attached to you at the hip. You kind of stole me. But it was a little backyard wedding, very small, like maybe 30 people.
Okay.
And I was shooting for free. I just offered to come hang out, and it ended up starting to pour rain right before their ceremony. So they set up all these tents last minute over all the benches and over the ceremony area. And the rain was fine, but it was so cold. It was so cold. And I could not feel my fingers while I was shooting. And you have to have your fingers out.
Yes.
You can't put gloves on or anything. You need those fingers. So I'm shooting and I'm like shivering, and my fingers feel like they're going to fall off. I'm like losing my mind, and it got way too dark, way too fast. Like the whole thing was just rough.
Yeah.
And at the end of it, I was giving my cards to her when I was leaving and saying goodbye and all that. And she goes, "I'm so sorry. This was like your first wedding experience. It's usually so much better than this." And I looked at her and I was like, "That was awesome." And she was looking at me like I was crazy. She's like, "What is wrong with you?" And I was like, "I loved every second of that. Physically, maybe not, but I was so happy." And immediately I was like, okay, who else can I shoot with? What other weddings can I do? What else can I do? Like, this is awesome.
That's so important. Like, so many people, like, that's another thing I look for in people who want to work with me. I'm like, are you becoming a wedding photographer just because you're like, oh, I can make so much money, wedding industry? Ew.
Yeah.
You can't be sustainable in this industry. Like, if that's your motivation, you have to really love weddings. You have to really love and love couples, and you got to be a little cheesy, honestly.
Yeah. Like, like super cheesy.
Yeah. Like, I cry at pretty much every wedding, you know, like, cause you get to know your couples and you see them get married and you're just like, oh, you know.
Oh yeah.
So
father-daughter dances get me every
oh my
time.
gosh. Yes. If the dad starts crying, forget it.
Gone. See ya. My photos are blurry because I got tears.
Exactly.
Yeah, it gets me every single freaking time. Yeah. It's so good. And especially that bond that you get to create with the couples, it's like nothing else. I went from commercial photography to weddings, and like it's just so different.
I always tell my couples when they're asking, they're like, oh, I don't know, first look, like, what do you think? And I'll tell them, like, hey, logistically it makes sense, right? You get all your pictures done before ceremony. You know, you get to relax, you get to enjoy cocktail hour. That's all cool, right? But that's not why I love the first look. It's sometimes the only time during the entire day that your couple actually gets to be alone.
Right.
Because even when we're doing newlywed pictures, I'm still with them the whole time. My second shooter is helping, you know, during the first look. Yeah, I'll put them together. They'll have that moment. I'll take the pictures, and then I'm going to leave and actually let them be alone while I go gather up the family and the bridal party for all those pictures.
Right.
And it's literally the only time during the whole day that they're 100% alone.
Yeah, because as soon as you hit that reception, everybody's like flies on the couple.
And
it's
they
crazy.
always, have you noticed that they pull couples away from each other? Like, how many times have we been like, where's the couple? They're not on the dance floor. I have no pictures of them dancing. Yes. And we're like, I'm like, go find the groom. I'm going to go find the bride. And we just pull them together. We're like, hi, can you guys dance with each other? You're married now. And they're like,
we're like, just.
Yeah. And they're like, oh my God, yeah. Oh my God, you know, and now they're like, oh, hi, husband. Hi, wife. I'm like, yeah, you know. Like,
let's have this moment for a second.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so tough. It gets so chaotic.
Yeah, you get pulled away from your family. You know, you have people from out of town visiting, and they're all excited to see you and talk to you. So you forget, you know, about the most important person there is your partner, your spouse, you know, who you married. So,
yeah, your new shiny.
Yeah. So we're there to kindly remind you and push you on the dance floor.
Yeah, for sure. So we talked a little bit about you being a mom, and you've had your son, and then
my daughter.
You have 3 now, right?
2.
Ugh,
yeah.
I gave you an extra.
Yeah, please don't. I'm good.
So how do you kind of balance all that with being a business owner and being a mom and all that?
I'm honestly still trying to figure it out. It is a balancing act for sure. You know, I'm thankful that I have my husband who helps me, and you know, he has his 2 days off a week, and I kind of try to plan like engagement shoots and other sessions on days like that. And then on the weekends, my parents help me tremendously with my kids. And then I work from home, you know, so my daughter, she's in a very like clingy stage right now, just wants to be around me. And, you know, sometimes I have to like be firm and like, okay, mom's got to work. Like, let's go to grandma's. You're going to hang out with grandma, and I'm going to be over here and I'm going to be working. But then, you know, you can't help, like, the whole mom guilt thing is totally real. You know, you're working and they're like, but mom, I want to play with you. And you're just like, okay.
I feel that with my dog.
Oh, I'm sure.
Sometimes she'll sit over there and she'll be like groaning, and I'm like,
toy in her mouth, and she's just like, please, and you're like, okay.
So sad.
Yeah, so it's a balancing act, and you have to be kind with yourself and forgive yourself too, and be like, you know what, I have goals and dreams independent of being a mom, so I have to, this is my time for being a mom, and this is my time for, you know, being Kristen and working on me. Yeah. And I think people, you know, as you get older, like we kind of have this romantic idea of like life should be spontaneous and in the moment and all that. And while that's great, once you're older and you start and you're married, you have kids and you have a business, you do need to actually time block things, you know, and it doesn't have to make things less romantic or less spontaneous, but it just helps you get organized. So like, even if you're like, I'm going to work for 1 hour and then I'm going to play with my kids for 30 minutes, you know, and then I'm going to work for 2 hours and then I'm going to break for lunch, but we're going to eat lunch together and we're going to, you know, things like that. So like you have to, that's the beauty of being a business owner, right? It's like you get to map this out in whatever way works for you. And you have to be confident in what you're doing because you're the only person that you really need to please, right? You need to do what's right for you and your family.
Very true. And your clients are important, but sometimes
Yeah.
Family's got to come first.
And you know what? Your clients, especially if you're choosing the right clients, they're always understanding. Like, I've never had a client be rude to me because I'm like, hey, like, it's going to take this much time. Or, like, you know, I did a call 2 days ago. It was Halloween, you know, and she's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry to call you on Halloween. Go get your kids ready. And I'm like, it's okay. Like, it's 12. I'm not getting them ready now. You know? But I appreciated it. She was like, oh my gosh, like, it's Halloween. I know you're a mom, you know. So, and that's another thing. Like, you let your clients into your life. Like, yes, I'm a mom. This is my life. This, you know, it's very open-sided, but yes, you have to, like, you protect your boundaries. And that is so hard as a business owner. We tend to work 24/7 and answer emails at 3 a.m. if we're up and it comes through our phone. So setting those boundaries are unbelievably important. I'm starting to utilize the do not disturb thing on my phone just so people know it's not business hours right now. I'll answer you in the morning.
And then there's me. I'm that person that's always like, notify anyway.
Yeah.
Like, excuse me?
Yeah. I need to talk to you. This is important.
And I'm asking about something dumb. Yeah. Like, which lipstick should I wear? Notify anyway. This is important.
On brand.
Yeah. Very much so, yeah. I'm always bugging Kristen.
I love it, though.
I'm like, hey, what you doing?
Yeah. But again, I feel like you kind of need that in this industry. You just need to be out there, you know. And that's not to say that, like, introverts or shy people wouldn't be successful, but they have to work. I do believe they have to work harder, you know, to really get out of that comfort zone. And it, too, like, goes back to you have to find your clients, you know,
right.
The people that you really vibe with who understand you and how you work and you work with them well. That's why I meet all my clients in person. I remember the first time I told you that, you thought I was crazy.
Yeah, I was like, what?
You were like, huh? I was like, you send them an email, don't even send them your prices, and tell them I want to meet in person or at least a Zoom call. Like, you need that interaction to be like, do I want to work with this couple, you know? Because when you're young and starting out, you say yes to everybody, and then you start to realize, like, oh, these people probably weren't my vibe, and they probably actually would have been happier with a different photographer. So, like, you meet people, you realize if you vibe, if their style is really your style, and you have to ask those hard questions, and you have to be honest about your style too. Like, this is how I shoot, these are my galleries, this is what it looks like. Do you actually like this? You know, if your album looked like this, would you be happy? So yeah, that's one thing I definitely noticed when shooting with both you and Jonathan, because you're very outgoing, you know, loud personality, we love that, and then Jonathan's just like quiet, very introverted, very soft. And so I would go second shoot with him, and his couples were very soft and quiet, and I had to kind of like tone it back a little bit. And then I'd go to shoot with you, and I'm like, let's go. Like, we're loud and we're yelling, and like, it's just, you know, different kind of clientele for different kind of people, and you have to find your people. Jonathan found his little shy introverts, and you found your party people. And I'm over here with the party people. And that's funny too, because like whenever I'm like booked, like I have a list, you know, of people, and like you're on there and Jonathan's on there, and I'm like, now that you say that, I'm like, can I keep sending my clients to Jonathan? Are they gonna scare Jonathan? Because I feel like all my couples, they have like loud, awesome personalities.
Yeah,
but Jonathan's
he's got a lot of practice with it.
Yeah, but I feel like when I'm with Jonathan, you know, and we're hanging out, he's fun, you know.
Yeah, he comes
so he
out
has
a
it
little
in
more.
him.
Yeah, he's got that like that switch kind of.
Did I tell you about the first time I met Jonathan?
No, I've I've never heard this.
Okay.
Oh, this is exciting.
I had put together one of my first styled shoots, and I had opened it up to a lot of photographers, and Jonathan was one of the photographers who came there. And my best friend was one of the models. She was, being a bridesmaid, and there was a couple there, whatever. And we were doing pictures of the bridesmaids, and like I hadn't really got to talk to all of the photographers yet. Like we were going to do a little like hangout session after the shoot was over. And so we're taking turns taking pictures, and Jonathan is in there, with the bridesmaids, and he's like, okay, stand this way, pose this way, and me in the back of my head, I'm like, okay, like he's doing the good poses, and I'm waiting. I'm like, is he going to do anything candid? And he's like, okay, girls, now kiss. And everyone's like, what? And they just start cracking up laughing, and I'm doubled over. I'm like, that's my kind of guy. I'm like, and he's like, I'm just kidding. But everyone's cracking up laughing. He got great pictures of them laughing. Yes. And it's so funny because the girls looked at each other for a second like, no.
Like, are we what? Do we do this?
It was so funny, and I was like, oh, I like this guy. Okay.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah, he drops those little jokes. Like, they're just good. They're such good nuggets, and you have to really be listening. Yeah. And sometimes it's gold. There was times when I was second shooting, and I'm like, did he just say that? Like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got a goofy side for sure.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And then we'd be dancing on the dance floor, and I'm like, you got moves. Like, where did those come from?
Yeah, absolutely.
You've done a lot of weddings.
Yes.
Like a ton.
Yes.
I know there was one year where you said you did 50 weddings.
50 in 1 year. Yeah, I will never do that again.
Yeah.
Do not recommend
that's
that.
Wild. Me in my like super early days was like, I want to do that. I'm going to try to do that. Now I'm like,
I thought so too. I'm like, oh my God, imagine like you're charging this and you can do like 50 weddings, like, cause there's 52 weeks in a year, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I had 2 weeks off. Yeah. Oh gosh. Yeah. No, that's terrible. That leads to burnout and hating yourself.
Yeah. I feel like you did have a rough year that year. You were really quiet, really reserved. You weren't normal, Kristen.
Was that the year I was pregnant too?
I think it was. I think you were like early stages pregnant.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah, you really went for it on that one.
Wow.
And then you made that like concert style shirt with all the names on the back.
I actually
all
never
50.
made it. I still need to do it. It was just a mock-up, but I haven't done it yet.
Oh, you need to do that.
Yeah,
that
I remember talking about that. I was like, I want to do like a, Kristen Henke Photography world tour, and like all the weddings I did that year with like the couple's name and yeah, that was a good idea.
Now someone's gonna steal that idea.
It's fine. I didn't execute it.
You still haven't done it.
Well, I was busy editing 50 weddings.
Right. That's true. A little booked.
Right.
So with doing that many weddings, what are some like super unique things that you've seen at a wedding that really like stood out to you?
I think in terms of my couples, where they tend to really express themselves is like with their clothes, with their styles. Like I feel like a lot of my brides have really unique shoes, like really like I had a groom with custom made shoes, like a custom made suit, like actual custom made, like insert, so I feel like, and I see that actually becoming a trend now, where like brides are like wearing capes and colorful capes and I love colorful dresses and all of that. So I think, for me, like in terms of the most unique is probably with outfits and just shoe choices and things like that. I remember the first time that I saw the signature cocktails and like the sign with like the dogs, and that's how you incorporated your dogs into your wedding. And this was so long ago, and now I know a lot of people are doing it, but for me I was like, that's so cute, because I know they wanted to have their dog, but their venue wouldn't let them have the dog at the wedding, so that was their way of having their dog like at their wedding. I'm like, okay, that's super cute. The hand painted signs, the custom signs, I love that stuff. All of the little details. I had one couple too, like all of their tables were named after a place they had visited, and there was a picture from like their trip there.
Oh, that's fun.
So like that's the kind of stuff that I love, really making it unique to them. Any way you can, because it's your day, it's your party, it's celebrating your love, so
yeah, those little personal touches really just bring it up that extra level.
For sure. Yeah. And it makes it feel more like your wedding.
Yeah. Have you seen any like super unique things as far as timeline? Because I know it's all kind of the same. So is there a way you've seen people change it up?
So this wasn't a wedding that I photographed, but actually, so my best friend just got married in Mexico, and she hired a photographer, a great photographer. Her name is Mai, from Europe. And because I'm a photographer, my best friend, you know, she's like, will you come talk to me, you know, with the photographer, like the night before the wedding, finish our timeline, go over it. And so I'm going over the timeline and I'm like, yeah, okay. So like grand entrance into first dance. And she's like, whoa, what? And I'm like, grand entrance, first dance. And she's like, oh no, first dance is last. I was like, that just makes no sense.
First dance is last.
She's like, yeah, the first dance opens the dance floor. I'm like, oh, okay. She's like, yeah, in Europe, that's how we do it. She's like, it's not like that in America. I'm like, no, the first dance is first. Like, that's what we always do. So I'm telling her, I'm like, yeah, it's usually like grand entrance, maybe a welcome speech or a blessing, you know. Oh yeah, I know, first dance, then a welcome, you know, first dance, dinner, toast toward the end of dinner, then the parent dances, then you kind of open the dance floor. Then a lot of couples like to sneak off and do cake privately. I've noticed it's not like a big like thing anymore.
Yeah, that's becoming a new thing for sure.
And then you just have more dancing. I'm like, usually it's the parent dances, you know, that like open up the dance floor, like gets everybody, because it's like so emotional that after that you're like, okay, let's party, you know,
you're like, wipe your tears and jam.
Literally. Yeah, so that was something. She's like, no. So first we went into dinner, and during dinner there was entertainment, which was amazing. And then after dinner ended, they did toasts, and then after toasts, they did parent dances, and then after parent dances they did their first dance, and then it started the party. And I'm like, okay, that's kind of interesting. I mean, it worked, you know, for what it was. So yeah, that's
wild. See, I had a couple. The last one I did actually up in Prescott, my second shooter was in tears. Danielle, it was so, she's planning her wedding, and so she's thinking of all these ideas and all these things she wants to do, and she has a very certain music taste, and the song that they used, she was just bawling, and it was the greatest thing ever. Not to call you out, Danielle, but she was bawling, and it was really cute. But they had their first dance, and at the very end of their first dance, it broke out into this like pop punk song. And before their first dance, the groom had run around and told all the tables, hey, when our first dance ends, jump up and get on the dance floor.
Oh, I love that.
And nobody knew why.
Yeah.
He just said, do it. And they were like, okay. So it broke out into this pop punk song, and everybody all at the same time got up and like rushed to the dance floor and just started jamming.
Oh,
and
I love that.
Danielle was crying and everyone's screaming, and like it was a really great moment. And then they had, I think they had all their toasts and stuff before that. So I think they did end with first dance, and then did private cake cutting, and then just jammed the rest of the night. So that's definitely a good way to do it.
Yeah, I liked it for sure. It worked. I wonder, why do you think cake cuttings are becoming like not as big of a deal?
I don't know. That's a really good question. I think it's like, what I've noticed is when the DJ will announce like, hey, we're going to do the cake cutting, everybody kind of gather around. I feel like very few people
actually get up and gather around.
Yeah, exactly. So I think maybe it's just kind of being aware of that and just being like, I don't
like, this doesn't have to be a big deal anymore. Yeah, unless you have like, I know we see on Instagram some of these crazy weddings with these super huge cakes, like, and they cut it with like a sword.
Yeah,
like, literally something like that. Then
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've seen both ends of it. I've seen like super private cake cutting, like sneak a piece and run off kind of thing, and then I've seen cake cuttings where they have these like sparkler towers that like go off when they cut the cake, and like it's a whole production, and you know, I mean, that's one of those things that's kind of depending
on
you,
on the couple.
And I feel like a lot of people don't like when people scream like, smash the cake in her face. So if you do it private, you kind of avoid that
for sure. Yeah,
it's always fun when they do
I feel like I haven't been to a wedding in a really long time where couples, they don't want to smash cake in their face. It's not a thing anymore, you know.
Yeah, like, I've seen it a couple times,
if they
but
do
it's
a
gentle.
little bit on your nose, like cute. It's not like aggressive.
You should see this one I did. They put trash bags on with holes in them and everything,
and they were like throwing cake,
and they were like, they were going to town. It was pretty awesome, but there was no cake left.
If you're gonna do it, go all out.
Yeah, exactly, and maybe get a cheap cake. If you're gonna be throwing it at each other. But that was a lot of fun. And then I've actually noticed garter tosses too are getting the boot for sure.
They're still, bouquet tosses are still popular, but people are not as into the garter. I think it has to do with a lot of like grooms being like, I don't want to go under your dress and pull out the garter and then
in front of my new father-in-law.
All these people, your family, and then toss it, and then it's like, I always tell my couples too, I'm like, if you're doing a garter toss, I'm like, please don't wear that garter all day. Like, do you know how sweaty and gross that is? Like, keep the garter at your sweetheart table and just slip it on your leg right before he's going to take it off or she's going to take it off, you know, just so that it's...
And you'll be fighting with it all day too, trying to keep it up.
They don't stay up. They're annoying. Yeah. So, I mean, the garter and bouquet toss, like, unless you have so many single guys and so many single girls, like, you know, a younger crowd, do it because they want you to do it. You know what I mean?
Right. I need to catch a bouquet still.
Yeah. Like, it's fun. Single people love going to weddings for that stuff, right? And it's fun. But if you don't really have a lot of single people, then it's just kind of awkward.
Yeah. Then there's like 3 people that are like, I guess I'll catch it. Yeah. That's a good point too. Yeah.